try this once when you realize plumbers are probably the most underpaid tradespeople in the world. To be a plumber, first, you got to be a contortionist. Your elbow has to bend on 180 degrees, not just 90. You've got to have eyes in the back of your head. You got to have 6 fingers. So don't question whatever your plumber charges you when he shows up at your house. It's tough. So I've built a little prop here that I'm going to talk y'all through. If I open the cabinet door and start crawling in underneath that cabinet, of course, the first thing I'm going to have to do is get all the junk that's in that cabinet out of the cabinet and make room for me. And there won't be room for me and you. So I'm just going to try and paint this picture for you. I'm going to crawl in that cabinet and I'm going to get on my back and I'm going to be looking up at the bottom of the countertop and the bottom of the sink. And you're going to first realize, if I want to change this faucet, there's no way to get back into that little bitty space and undo those bolts that are holding the lavatory down to the countertop, because there just isn't any room. You've got the countertop with the supply lines coming down through the holes. You've got some washers that are holding the cabinet in place that are then in place snug by a bolt. And to replace that faucet, the first thing you're going to do is disconnect the supply lines. Of course, you'll turn the angle stops off so there's no water running. Then you'll disconnect them, have a little pan or cookie sheet there. A little bit of water will bleed out of those as you disconnect them. Go ahead and catch that so you don't have to worry about it. Get them disconnected and out of your way. Now, I will give you this tip. While you've got half the supply line disconnected and the water's turned off and you're under there, you're going to consider, go ahead and just replace the whole supply line. And we would recommend that only be done with braided stainless steel and all brass parts, fasteners, and nuts. It doesn't make any sense to replace those with plastic parts. It's one of the number one home insurance claims you have on floods. So let's go ahead and get some new supply fluxes while we're there. So reaching up there and getting those nuts undone are going to be your biggest challenge. So you're laying down there and you yell, "Honey, bring me a crescent wrench." And you realize a crescent wrench won't do it. The sink's in the way, the back of the cabinet's in the way, the little supply anchor lines that are attached to the faucet are in the way. So you scratch your head a little bit and you say, "Okay, honey, bring me a box end wrench. As a matter of fact, bring me one with a ratchet on it." And you try and slip that over the nut and buy the copper line and get in there, and nope, it isn't going to fit. Even if you've got the pivot box end wrench with a ratchet on it, it isn't going to work because you can't get the leverage you need. So another option, which generally works pretty good, is get a deep set socket that fits right over the nut, right over the long stem with a brake bar, and you can then break that loose. And you ought to have plenty of the leverage and plenty of the power to do that. Now, I'll tell you, if this is something you're going to tackle in a double vanity bathroom, or you're maybe thinking about upgrading all the vanities, the lavatories throughout your house, the plumbers have what's called a basin wrench. And it's made specifically for grabbing that small nut. It's adjustable in length. As deep as your sink goes, this will extend past the bottom of the sink, and you'll reach up in there, grab that nut, and break it loose. Now, the basin wrench, a good basin wrench, is going to run you $40 or $50. So I wouldn't say that's something a homeowner typically needs in their everyday toolbox. A deep socket set will work, but the basin wrench, if you're going to tackle 3 or 4 of these, it's going to save you quite a bit of time, and you'll thank me for that. So you get that new faucet off, the old faucet off. You're going to take some little acetone and a scraper and clean all that plumber's caulk that held the old faucet on. You're going to place the washer in place. Most of them come now with their own gasket. Don't necessarily need to be caulked down in place. Set the faucet down through the countertop. Then you're going to crawl back up under there, and now you need to re-anchor. It's a good couple tips. When you're shopping the faucet, I would tell you to consider an all brass faucet. Don't spend less money for one that's made of plastic. I would also encourage you to consider not buying one from China or overseas, because then all of the parts and pieces and the nuts on the bottom are going to be metric. And I don't know about you, but I have very, very few metric tools at my house. So look at American made, look at solid brass, get something that's going to last for a while. Set that baby down in place, crawl back under there, and just reverse you'll get the little washer that will slide. It's a slotted washer that actually slides over the fastening lug nut and around the copper neck to the supply line, and then you would tighten the nut from there. So it's a job that you're gonna, if you do have several you want to replace, let's just tackle one at a time first. A typical handy person with the basic skill set, flexible enough to get underneath the cabinet, and the right set of tools. This is probably the first time you do it, about a 1 hour job, including the new supply lines. By the time you get out of the master bath and do both those vanities to the hall bath, you can have that down to about 20 or 30 minutes. So that's my tips on replacing a bathroom and or pretty well applied for a kitchen faucet as well. The basin wrench just might be the secret tool you need to get her done.
The basin.